Hi everyone, it's Leela from Miss Kiss Creations. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to show you how I made this glittered marble tumbler without using any paints or inks. I'll have all my materials listed in my description below, and I'll also go over the materials I'll be using in this video. If you do like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Let's go ahead and get started. The materials that you'll be needing for this tumbler are shown below. You're going to need your marble contact paper. You're going to need a stainless steel tumbler. I do recommend a tumbler that is smooth with no curviness on it, so I'm using a 20 ounce from Walmart. You're going to need 91% alcohol and a paper towel or a clean rag. You're going to need some scissors, some glitter. I am using from Glitter Heart Company. It's Purple Paradise. And I also recommend you purchasing the cup edging tool. This is from Wicked Shimmer, and I will go over what this is and how you use this for this tumbler. So for your first step, you're gonna take your tumbler, you're gonna take your 91% alcohol, and then you're just gonna wipe it down with the 91% alcohol. I cut my paper towels in fourths so I can have them last a little longer. Wiping your tumbler down with alcohol, it gets rid of any of oils from hands, people touching it along the way. This tumbler is a rose gold tumbler. I would have purchased a stainless steel regular tumbler, but this is the only one that Walmart had whenever I went to go search for one. So I'm not going to sand this tumbler at all. I wouldn't sand the stainless steel one. I'm only going to wipe this down with 91% alcohol, and it dries almost immediately. And then I'm going to move on to the next step. I'm going to now take my contact paper, and then I'm going to take my tumbler, and I'm just going to wrap my contact paper around its tumbler just to see how much I'm going to be needing. So this is the same thing like you would if you would be wrapping a Christmas present. You know how you wrap your wrapping paper around your present? So you're gonna do the same thing. So I see that it wraps all the way around. It's okay. What I like to do is I like to overlap it more. I'd rather have too much than too little. And this contact paper has lines, so I'm just gonna remember what line it stops at, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. Now that I have the width of my contact paper measured out, I'm now going to want to cut the sides of it. So I want to cut the excess off from top to bottom. So now I'm just going to place it on the bottom here. And I'm just going to cut, just like a Christmas present, I'm just going to cut the line across. So again, I am using a 20 ounce skinny tumbler from Walmart. It is Built brand. The dimensions of this paper is 10 by 11. So if you are using that type and brand of tumbler, you'll be needing a 10 by 11 piece. All 20 ounce skinny tumbler brands are made differently. So I do recommend if you're using another brand to always just do it yourself, just like wrapping paper. Now for the next step. Anyone who ever has used contact paper or shelving paper, they know it is very, very sticky, and when it's stuck, it's stuck. So now we're going to peel up a little bit of this contact paper. We're not going to peel it all up. If I peel this all up, it's going to roll right up into a ball, and then I won't be able to have any control over it. So the sticky side's right there. So this is going to be the seam. So I want to put this brand, this has a brand on it. So I want to just put the brand kind of where the seam is. So if you see what I mean here, I put the Built logo where the seam's going to be. And then now, trying to get this on camera for y'all, I'm pulling back my adhesive, or I should say my excess paper, kind of like the transfer paper. I'm pulling back the transfer paper, and then I am pushing down on the tumbler. The great thing about this tumbler is that it does not matter if it's crooked. This is a marble effect, So marble isn't exact. I'm just rolling it. I'm rolling the paper, the transfer paper, and then I'm rolling it right around the tumbler. As I'm rolling, I'm pushing down. So now it's gonna look like this. Now you're gonna have little creases or little, I should say bumps inside of your paper. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna peel this part up, and just like vinyl, I wanna lay this more flat. So see right here, it started to crinkle right there. I'm gonna peel this back up and then kind of lay it more flat on my tumbler, just so it can look a little cleaner, I should say. So just like, this reminds me of vinyl. So just like vinyl, just go ahead and lay it flat. Take your time with it. And since this one has like a, kind of like a seam on this tumbler, it does get a little crinkly at the bottom, but it's all right. We're not gonna be able to see that at the end here. And then I just wanna go around the tumbler and kind of smooth out any areas that aren't laid flat. So the way that I do that is, like you see there's like a seam right here. The way I'm laying it out is I just slowly push it towards the seam. And I just run my fingers along and I'm pushing down, and that makes a flat surface. So here's what it should look like. Again, you see how I placed it at a slant? Whenever you see this tumbler, you can't tell this is slanted because it's a marble effect. So again, this does not have to be perfect. As long as it's laid down flat, you'll be fine. For my next step, I'm gonna take my washi tape, electrical tape, or blue tape, and I'm just going to take some from top to bottom of the tumbler. That's all I'm gonna use. I'm gonna take this seam and I wanna clean up this seam. So when I epoxy this, I don't want this to be crooked. I want this to be a straight line. So this is similar to fabric. So this is where I overlaid. So I have about an inch or two overlay of this vinyl. So I'm gonna take my washi tape, blue tape, or electrical tape, and just lay a flat, straight line up and down on the tumbler, like so. So again, I just placed washi tape right on the line, and honestly, I just look at it and I just make it straight, and I kind of just eyeball it. I just use washi tape because I hardly use washi tape for anything, so this is just how I use it up. Once you have the washi tape on the tumbler, you're now going to take your X-Acto knife and you're going to cut. So here is where I have my overlap of my tumbler, or of my paper. You're gonna cut this part so I can cut off this excess. Like I said, you don't want this here, you want it to have a nice line. So I'm gonna take this and I'm just going to start at the top, and I'm just going to press down. You don't want to press down too hard. You just want to press down along the washi tape so you can have a clean line, and this is going to cut off the excess contact paper. So I started the line, and you see I have the excess holding in my other hand, and I'm making as straight as line as I can. If you don't have an X-Acto knife, or if a razor blade works better for you, you can always use that. And then once you cut it, it should peel right up. Now that you've created your seam, you can take your washi tape or your electrical tape or your duct tape, or I'm sorry, blue tape, and you could just peel up your washi tape. And then now you have that straight seam, well, as straight as it's gonna get seam on your tumbler. We're now going to take off the excess from the top and the bottom of your tumbler. So I'm just going to find the space where my contact paper ends, and I'm just going to kind of saw the excess paper off. I'm just cutting my blade with my X-Acto knife. I'm pushing towards the tumbler and I'm just cutting the bottom of this paper right off. You don't have to make this perfect, because I'm going to show you what I do here in a second to make this edge clean. I'm just trying to get this paper off so I can work easier with the tumbler. So see how this isn't perfect? It's okay. We're going to clean this up in a second. And then I'm going to do the same with the bottom. I'm just going to find where the top of the tumbler is, and then I'm just going to saw around the tumbler. And this is how it should look. After you've done this, what I do is I go around and I kind of push down the contact paper, because a lot of times this creates some bubbles around the paper. Sometimes it's not noticeable, but there are some. Just like whenever you lay vinyl, just imagine laying a circle shape onto a tumbler. It's very hard to place it on a tumbler without getting any air bubbles in there. So it's kind of similar to that. So what I do is I just take my hands and I push it towards the top or the bottom of the tumbler to kind of get them out. And you see my built decal or my built brand is on the back where the seam is. So the top might have some creases or some wrinkles in it. That's perfectly fine. We're gonna go ahead and not see that part anyways, and we're gonna clean this part up. But I still press it down because I just wanna run the air bubbles or the spots that are sticking up off of the tumbler. So I just push it up or push it down towards the edge of the tumbler. I just want these to be flat, this paper to be flat around the entire cup. Now that I've laid my contact paper onto my tumbler, I'm gonna now use my cup edging tool from Wicked Shimmer. So what this is it actually cuts your fabric or your material from your tumbler. So this is a razor blade inside of here, and there are little screws or nuts that's holding it together, and you can change out the screws and the nuts to make the razor blade go higher, this high or this low. So I have it on 2 nuts right now. If you see, there's 2 little bolts or nuts underneath there. That's the amount of the stainless steel that I like to show on these tumblers. So I hope that makes sense. And then you place your cup edging tool, and you place the tumbler on it like so, and then you just cut around it. So I'm going to press my tumbler against the razor blade, and I'm just gonna push the tumbler against the razor blade without lifting it up, and the razor blade is cutting my contact paper off of the tumbler. So this is going to create a crisp line, and to be honest, this line doesn't matter if it's crisp or not. The only reason why I do this for this tumbler is so the bottom and the top can have a flush line with the top or with the rim. So I use that, and then you're gonna see the material peel right off of the tumbler. It just peels right off. And like I said, if it's not completely straight, which this tool is actually amazing. If it's not completely straight, it's okay. We're gonna put glitter over this. But if you don't wanna put glitter over this and you wanna leave it like this, it looks great like this. So now I'm gonna flip over to the bottom of the tumbler, or the top of the tumbler, I should say, and then repeat the process and do the same thing. I'm taking my left hand and I'm just pushing it towards my razor blade. And you really don't have to push that hard because this paper isn't that thick. But if you're working with fabric, you might have to push a little harder with this. And you see it just comes right off. This was such a great invention. So it looks like some of it didn't grab, so I'm just going to go back here and I'm just gonna run the tumbler on the razor blade just to get that cut right there. And I always keep it at the same height. I think this height is good for my personal preference. Again, I'm using 2 nuts from the bottom. So I just add 2 nuts on there, and then I put the razor blade adapter on top of that, and then I put the rest of the nuts on top just in case I want to make a bigger gap. So if I would add more gaps to this tumbler, or excuse me, if I would put all these nuts on the bottom of my razor blade attachment, you're gonna have a bigger gap on your tumbler, so you're gonna see more of the rose gold. And you can see that it cuts it very, very well. So now I'm just gonna go back around the tumbler and I'm just going to repeat the process again of pushing all of the air bubbles out of the tumbler design. And y'all, look at this beautiful marble tumbler. You don't have to spray paint anything. You don't have to sand. There's no paint involved. There's no mess. This is the only mess that I had. This and the transfer tape from the contact paper. This is such an easy way to do your marble tumblers. I recommend everybody running to Walmart and buying this contact paper immediately. I think this was about $5 to $10, and the roll that it comes in is really, really big, especially if we're only using 10 by 11 dimensions of it each time. So this is going to last me a long time. So what you can do now is you can epoxy this right away and be done with it, or you can add a decal to this and be done with it. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to epoxy it lightly. I'm going to add some glitter to the top and the bottom. I'm going to decal it and then epoxy it again. I'm going to now epoxy my tumbler. I am wearing my face mask to protect me from the fumes. So if I am yelling, I am not yelling at you in a rude manner. I just want you to be able to hear me. I mixed 7.5 mLs of epoxy, but I don't think I'm going to use it all. I might only use 5 mLs. So it's very hard to mix a little amount of epoxy, so I think I might have mixed too much. So all we're going to do is we're just going to apply a very, very thin coat of epoxy onto the tumbler. This is going to be the same as if you were applying epoxy and glitter with the epoxy method. You only want a thin coat of epoxy. I used about 4 to 5 mLs of epoxy on my tumbler. You want to make sure you have the top and the bottom of the tumbler covered with epoxy, because that's where we're going to drop the glitter. You want to make sure you have the bottom done as well. Again, you can leave this tumbler the way it is. I think this is gorgeous this way, but I just want to show y'all if you do want to add the glitter to the top and bottom. So I have my glitter from Glitter Heart Company. This is a 2-ounce or a 3-ounce bottle. So I'm just going to transport my glitter into a smaller Dixie cup. This just allows me to have more control over my glitter. I have my catch paper down. Just going to drop the glitter onto the tumbler And the closer I am to the rim or the top of the tumbler, the closer I get with my glitter. So what I'm doing is that I'm wanting to cover up that rose gold part. Like I told y'all before, that line didn't have to be perfect because of this reason. You see it's now covered up. And then I want to kind of ombre it or fade it off towards the middle. So I'm going to do the bottom side, a heavier coat of it. I am very close to the tumbler because I'm wanting to cover up the rose gold. And then I'm going to let the excess glitter fall off. And then I'm going to add this glitter back into my Dixie cup. Now that I have the both top and bottom covered with glitter, I'm going to hold my shaker or my cup far away from the tumbler, and I'm just going to tap slowly, and the glitter is just going to fall. I am focusing just right below the line that I created. I'm trying to hold it about 6 or 7 inches away from the tumbler. This helps it have a fade effect. So the further you are away from the tumbler, the lighter it's going to be falling onto the tumbler. And then I'm going to do the same with the bottom. Oops. I told you I have a heavy hand with everything. For the next step, I'm going to take my Dixie cup with glitter. I'm just going to pinch some glitter, and I'm just going to fill in the blank, and then I'm just sprinkling on the glitter like I would salt and pepper. So I'm just going to do that over and over again until I have kind of a fade effect and it kind of blends out. So y'all can see how far away I am, and I'm just taking my hand and I kind of move it back and forth. It fills it in. You don't want it to look perfect, but you want it to have some type of fade or it going up the tumbler. So you just do this over and over again until you feel like you have the right amount of glitter faded up towards the tumbler. You see any glitter that you want to kind of push down or kind of remove, like there's one right here, I just take my popsicle stick and I scoop it out. I'm only focusing, for me personally, on the part where I'm going to put my decal on. So that's why I want to remove or push that one up a little bit, because that's where my decal is going to go. I'm going to now take my tumbler off its turner, and then I'm just going to hit the bottom with the glitter. And I focus on the edge of the bottom, and so that helps the glitter just kind of run down towards the bottom of the tumbler. And then I just tap on my tumbler arm, get all the excess glitter off, and then I put my tumbler back on its turner, and then I turn the turner back on. And then for my final step, this is chunky glitter. So I'm just going to pat down this glitter to make sure when it dries, it's not going to be lumpy or bumpy. Because I do not like sanding, or hardcore sanding as I call it, tumblers. I am not a fan. So I make sure I'm getting the rim of the tumbler, and I'm just getting all of the glitter off of the rim so it doesn't dry right there. I don't want it to be caked on. And I'm pushing down all of the chunky glitter onto the tumbler, because when I go to epoxy this again, I want to make this as easy for me as I can. You're going to now let your tumbler spin on its turner for 4 to 6 hours. You're going to then turn off your spinner, and then you're going to allow it to dry for additional 4 hours. So it should be completely dry. Once it's completely dry, you can go ahead and either add another coat of epoxy, or you can let it sit for a total of 12 hours. Then you can add a decal in the middle, a name or anything you like, and then you can go ahead and epoxy over that. I just wanted to show you this quick video on how you get this design. I will be linking videos on how you mix epoxy properly, how you epoxy a tumbler, and how you glitter a tumbler. So I hope this video helped you. If it did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.